handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What do all men in power want? More power.
And now, broadcasting live from deep within the borders of occupied liberal territory known as California, Luca Zanna with Love, Guns, and Freedom.
All systems go.
Don't tread on us. We're not afraid. You work for us. We're not your slaves. Don't tread on us. You cross the line. Soon you will pay for all your crimes.
Hello everybody, this is Gianluca Zanna, and you're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom on K-Talks 1340 AM. Wow, we have today a special, very special guest, and I'm very happy that she found the time because it's a busy lady, and she's more than a lady, she's also a medical doctor. And more important, she's also our state senator. Before we're going to introduce her, I would like to remind everybody listening to the show that I'm an Italian by birth, but I became an American by choice. And more important right now, I am an Arizonan by gift of God. I'm not here to entertain, but my goal is to engage each other in the search for the truth, with the goal of regaining our lost liberties and taking America back, starting from our local government. I would like to remind everybody that when I became an American, I took an oath to defend this republic and its constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So this is for me a very important matter. And even I'm a registered Republican, I never pledge an allegiance to a party or to a man or a woman, but my allegiance is to America as an ideal of liberty and justice. This is just to let you know where I'm coming from and why I'm here. My beliefs is very simple. You can go to my website, lovegunsfreedom.com, and see pretty much what I am. I have no secrets. I am what I see, what you see. You can find him also on YouTube. Sometimes you can see I use also some colorful language, but that's who I am. No secrets here. I believe in life, in liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And also I believe that all human beings are unique. We are not all the same. We are all different from each other. But also, each one of us has the same inalienable rights, and we all should be treated with equal respect. I believe that. More important, I believe that government is not my God. Therefore, government does not own my body or my soul. And also, it's not about left or right, like sometimes they try to classify us, oh, you must be a right wing or you must be a left. No, it's not about Republicans or Democrats. It's, for me, about right or wrong, liberty or tyranny, truth or deception. Just to let you know, I come from a collectivist country. They used to be first fascist and then became some sort of a mild, not really mild, communism. Now we have a president, they have a president in Italy that is a communist president. So I am against all forms of collectivism. I really have some sort of allergic reaction to anything that could become collectivism, okay? And I believe in the potential of the individual. And yes, one person can make a difference. That's why I'm here. I'm trying to do my best to do my part. Thank you for listening, Love, Guns, and Freedom. And here we are with today's special guest. I am proud and honored to have as our special guest, let me put it on right now, Arizona State Senator, District 5 from Lake Havasu, Mojave County. She's a mom, a wife, a medical doctor. Just this year, she was nominated Hero of the Taxpayer by Americans for Prosperity, chosen as a champion of cities and towns, awarded Female Leader of the Year by the American College of Osteopathic Family Physicians, Senator Dr. Kelli Ward. Senator, are you there? Senator, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Nice to get you on the phone. How are you?
Very, very well. How about you?
Thank you. I really want to thank you very much again for your time. I know that you are right now in Phoenix, right?
Yes, I am in Phoenix.
Tomorrow, I think you have to go to work. I guess it's day.
I'm going. Yeah, actually going to Washington D.C. tomorrow.
Oh, can I ask you what is the purpose of the trip? Is that leisure or business?
Multiple things. The first couple of days will be leisure, where my husband, Mike, you know Mike, and
Yes.
our son Cameron and our exchange student Eduardo, we're all going to do some touristy touring of the monuments and see history up close and personal for the boys. And then I'm actually attending ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange meeting. And I'm not sure you know, but I always pay my own way because I don't want anybody to think that I'm beholden to them. So I just pay my way because I like to know what's going on at those meetings.
Thank you.
And then I've got lots of things to do. I'm an early childhood fellow for the NCSL, which is the National Organization of the State Legislatures. And then finally, on Saturday, which I think is probably one of my favorite things that I'm going to do, I'm going to be going to the first meeting of the Article 5 convention. It's not really a convention, it's an informational meeting, but there are about 100 active legislators from all over the United States that are meeting together at Mount Vernon on Saturday to see what we can do about our Constitution that's been hijacked and see if we can get this country back on track.
Perfect. Listen, I would like just to give you a little warning. Do not drink the water and get some sort of a gas mask because I start to have some theory. I'm trying to be sarcastic. Every time politicians that we have a good guys coming and live in the state and moving to Washington, D.C., after 6 months, they start to get infected, okay, with some sort of...
I believe you.
Anyway, listen, I would like just to remind everybody that you are our state Arizona senator for our District 5. And also I would like to say what we would like to talk today is going to be some sort of... we will touch different topics, okay? And we want to get a little bit of everything. Of course, it's just 1 hour. We don't have much time, but we will try to share information with the people that already voted for you, how you performing in your pretty much on what you believe, and also people that probably never really had a chance to know about you would like to know more about you. So today I would like to talk a little bit about important things, at least for me, Second Amendment, and of course also the concept of freedom as individual liberty, but also as being responsible, and who owns our body, if it's the government or us. A little bit also about the Obamacare and healthcare, since you are a medical doctor. So let's just start with a basic question. First of all, a little bit about yourself. I mean, tell us a little in few words who you are, besides being an Arizona senator.
Yes. Well, my family, we moved to Lake Havasu from Michigan, where my husband and I did our medical training. We did our residencies in Michigan. Neither of us were from Michigan, but we knew we weren't going to stay in Michigan, right outside Detroit. We wanted to find somewhere else to come, and we discovered Lake Havasu City. Mike is from Southern California originally, so a lot of his family members live in Southern California, or lived. Not that many live over there anymore. They've all kind of escaped from California and have moved closer to us. And so we wanted to be close to California, but not in California. And for me, I grew up in West Virginia. I never thought I would be in Arizona, I could tell you, to live. But I came to a meeting here once when I was a medical student and thought it was just beautiful, and couldn't imagine being so lucky and so blessed to be able to live in such a place. And so for us to end up in Lake Havasu, it was really a dream come true. The hospital there was recruiting for a family doctor and an emergency physician to come to town, and we just happened to fit that bill. And so we came there 14 years ago, and we've been going strong ever since, and love it more really every day.
Perfect.
Yeah. So that's the how I got to Arizona story.
Excellent. And then I can ask you something. I mean, what was your call? Every one of us has some sort of inner voice when you had to do a big step like you decided to do. You wanted to become our state senator. How did you get to the point? How did you reach that point?
Yes. Well, I'll have to tell you that 9/11 was a big turning point for me, to think that we could be attacked on our own soil. And as I watched those pictures, and my kids were little then, they were 2.5 and 4.5, and as I watched those pictures over and over again, I just knew that the world was going to be different for them than the world I was so blessed to grow up in. And so before that day, I really was, kind of in my own little world, thinking everything's happy, watching the Today Show every day, looking at recipes, reading magazines. I still read, fashion magazines and those kind of things, but I had to really say, what the heck's happening here in our country and in our world that something like that could happen? So I changed the things that I watched on TV, changed the news programs that I listened to, or added to them, changed different books that I read, different magazines, even going on to different Facebook and Internet pages. Facebook wasn't around, I don't think, at least not for me at that point, but trying to get more engaged with what was actually happening in our world politically and policy-wise and how we got to that point. And as I learned more and as I knew more myself, I started to have higher expectations for the people who represent us. And so I would write letters and I would call sometimes and send emails, and most of the time I was very disappointed about what I got back, which was usually nothing or some kind of a form letter that might minimally address the issue that I had, but you could tell it wasn't anything personal. After you pour your personal heart and soul into something and then you get back, oh, thank you for writing on, and fill in the blank the topic, that's kind of disappointing. And so I kind of would throw my hands up and say, why doesn't somebody do something?
Senator,
why the heck doesn't somebody do something? Yes.
Senator, perfect. And now we understand that you had a special call, 9/11. And just because, today we'll touch mostly topics that they are related to your state legislation powers.
Yes.
We want to touch something that is not foreign policy. We are here. But just because as a friendly, tip that we try to help each other, and I really respect you and I'm really proud of what you did so far as our state senator. If you want to write it down, is an important keyword that really woke me up a few years ago, 2 years after 9/11, is Operation Northwood. Just Google that and start to see exactly what. There is a lot of things that unfortunately the mainstream media, they don't tell us about it. But let's go back. Operation Northwood is something that every one of us should dig a little bit and do your own researches. But meanwhile, let's bring back a topic that is really your bread and butter, something that you've been a very great person. I really respect you so much for this stand. It's about Common Core. Can you please first tell us, to our listening, in few words, what Common Core is?
Well, ultimately, Common Core is the nationalization of our public education system. And I oppose that. I think education should be local. And Common Core, I kind of equate Common Core and Obamacare. Obamacare was the other main reason why I jumped into running for office, was the takeover of our private medical system in our country. And I equate Common Core to the takeover of our education system in the United States.
Perfect. So you were one of we have three legislators, you're one of the three. And you were one of the strongest, together with Representative Borrelli, that I would like to thank on that too, to pretty much understand the danger of this federalized indoctrination, I call it, of Common Core. And I really respect you and I appreciate that, like many of our listeners. Thank you. So your position is pretty much clear. You were one, unfortunately, let's remind to our listeners that the governor, I guess, too, and the state, the majority of the legislators, pretty much, we lost this battle, right? For a moment.
Well, we lost the battle over Medicaid expansion, and that was, driven by the governor's office, and the governor's supporters really wanted that to go through. And so we the conservative side, we lost in that battle because some of our Republican cohorts in both the Senate and the House decided to join with all of the Democrats and push that piece of legislation through, which I think is a huge expansion of an entitlement program that has no mechanism behind it to pay for it other than trying to take federal money that doesn't exist whenever we're borrowing over 40 cents of every dollar that we spend in the United States. So, and I think that everyone can see Obamacare falling apart right before our eyes.
Exactly. And regardless Common Core, this is another legislation that pretty much was implemented by our state legislators, right?
Well, actually, no. The state legislature didn't ever have a chance to even vote on that. It was accepted by the National Governors Association and then pushed to the states through the Race to the Top grant that Obama very much does support. And our state Board of Education accepted those standards and accepted the money that came along with it. So there really was no legislative input on that at all, which means no input from the people. And that's not the way to do business.
I learned a new thing today. I'm really glad you tell me that, because this is very important. This is, I really believe that if you want to take over a country and completely revolutionary in a bad way, that means conquer a country, you must steal the next generation. And I've been documenting myself a little bit. I remember stories from my family during Mussolini, and they were the famous balillas. They were young kids. They were taken about 6, 7 years old, and started to go into these public schools, and the program, of course, was the official educational material from the Mussolini, and and then you see that 18 years old, these men, they were ready to kill and be killed for just a tyrant, and that's pretty much what I'm really afraid today. You know.
I agree that there is going to be indoctrination of our kids, of this next generation, and it's also experimentation on these kids as well, because Common Core is not proven. It's not a proven program. It's never been tested. We don't even have the outcomes that they expect to get from our children. They just want to tell us that they're going to be college and career ready, and that it's more rigorous. Those are the things, those are the buzzwords that the people who are pushing this like to use, but there's nothing that tells us what the kids are supposed to be able to do better with any kind of a measurable testing that's been done. The test isn't even finished. They haven't even finished the 2 tests that go along with Common Core in order to test the kids. So they haven't, if they haven't even finished the test, how can we be expected at the legislature to give a blank check for a program that's so unproven? I don't feel comfortable with that at all.
And also another thing, let's not forget that our educational system didn't start today, but at the beginning of the century, they were behind a lot of foundations. One of that, the Rockefeller Foundation. And after the research I did, pretty much they were trying to implement the Prussian system from Germany. The idea is not to create free thinkers, but to create a nation of workers. That's pretty much coming directly from Rockefeller great-grandfather, I guess. So it's some sort of a big bunch of slaves, you know. They want a bunch of slaves ready to work for whatever.
Right. Well, I think that they want the people who are going to go to public school are going to be the cogs in the wheel. They're going to be the workers. The new imperialists or the new emperors of our world will be the kids of the people who are pushing this, because they won't be going through this kind of a program.
Exactly.
So it's very scary, and I hope that more and more people are going to wake up and talk to their school boards, talk to the state school boards, and talk to their legislators, so that this doesn't actually come to
Perfect. Thank you very much again about this topic. And I tell you, you know, we don't need to agree on every topic, but when you do something right, I really support you with all my heart. And because this is important, you know, I really believe that both parties, they've been taken over. The point is, I still believe, though, I am a registered Republican. I try to be active as possible, because for people like you, because at the state and local level, we still have decent men and women that we can make a difference. That's why I'm here. I want to really thank you for that. Perfect.
Thank you.
So,
one more thing on
Go
Common
ahead.
Core, because I think this is...
Please, go ahead.
What I like to say about the Common Core is that the 3 R's are being substituted for the 5 L's. Limited learning for lifelong labor. And that's what people need to remember. Limited learning for lifelong labor is what you're going to get out of Common Core.
Perfect. One quick question. We touch Common Core, we touch a little bit Obamacare. That, by the way, I would like to remind that you and Representative Borrelli, you opposed to this Medicaid exchange. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then there is another person that is not here today. I will not mention her name, but I will mention the last name, Goodale, that unfortunately, since she's a lady that she's supposed to represent also, the value that we elected for. I wish to have her on the show. I know she didn't feel well. I hopefully pray for her. She will recover, and maybe she wants to come on the show next time or when she feels better, and how she can defend this Medicaid exchange. But so I want to thank you today, you and just you, and of course Mr. Borrelli, Sonny, that I will have next week on this
Wonderful.
one. Perfect.
Yes, well, it was a hard fight. It was a hard way to start at the legislature, because it was kind of so disappointing the way things came down, the way things were pushed on us, the way things that were basically pushed down our throat without any recourse for us. Even when we tried to make the bad legislation better, the same cadre of our Republicans plus the Democrats were able to put down everything that would have increased accountability, that would have protected life. All of those things were voted down by the people who were hell-bent on pushing Medicaid expansion through in Arizona.
All I can say, there is always a good side, even in the bad times. The good side is that you see now, we were able to see the true characters of people like you, that you stood against the lobbies, against the pressure of the governor and some other special interest. And was a great test, because I think you really show your character on this one. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now,
you.
Second Amendment, okay? I see, and correct me if I'm wrong, I did a little research about you. You already been rated about 92% from the official NRA rating. And you also co-sponsored a very interesting bill that, correct me if I'm wrong, this is my research, I think I'm right, is a Senate Bill 1112, SB 1112, that is called the Second Amendment Preservation Act. The bill would nullify a federal tax on the Second Amendment and the right to keep and bear arms in the state of Arizona. Can you please tell us a little bit more about this bill and why it's so important for you to co-sponsor it, and why did it not pass?
Well, that bill I sponsored, last year in January, and I'm actually going to sponsor another one this year that's also hopefully going to be titled the Second Amendment Preservation Act that has a few changes. But last year I basically said that the federal government didn't have any right to come into Arizona because we support the Second Amendment as written, which means that we have the right to keep and bear arms. And it doesn't say anything in the Constitution about for hunting, or we can have small guns, or we can have a couple of bullets, or we can, and we don't have to tell people that we have guns, but we are able to have them because our Second Amendment guarantees that. So, but last year I did try to have some penalties against the federal government if agents came into Arizona and tried to enforce those laws or force other people to enforce those laws. There would be penalties on those federal agents, and that was one of the things that some people had a little bit of issue with, and so I was able to get that through the Public Safety Committee and finally through the Rules Committee with a little bit of pressure from the 10th Amendment Center on some of the senators on the Republican side of the aisle. That did go through rules, but there were not enough votes in the committee of the whole, which is the entire Senate. We all vote, but you would think that with a Republican majority, you'd be able to get a Second Amendment bill through our Senate, but I was not able to get it through the Senate because we could not get the votes. So this year, I'm taking away the penalties against the federal agents, but there still will be penalties against employees or agents of the state who knowingly violate this act. And so basically we're saying that people here in our state are not going to be able to give any material support to federal agents coming in trying to enforce gun laws that have nothing to do with Arizona.
I think you're doing a great job, because the point is you try to break a breach in the very thick wall that we know it is very hard, especially when you start to make some real dent. I mean, you want to put some real teeth into this legislation, and everybody's pretty afraid. That's the truth. I mean, most of these politicians, they're fearful that they don't understand the 10th Amendment, or maybe they understand it, they don't want to use it. I don't want to speculate why they're acting like that, but at least one thing I tell you, you're trying your best, and this is a great. We'll try to support you in every way we can when you go into the next stage. And by the way, just because, you ever heard about Mr. Sheriff Richard Mack, or the sheriff?
Yes. Oh, yes, I have. Definitely.
Perfect. Please be in touch with him. He did a great example of what exactly the local sheriff, and also what is about the 10th Amendment and the jurisdiction that the federal government really can have in our state. There is a Supreme Court case, is Mack Prince against the United States, and if you can Google that and look a little bit about this information, I think also Sheriff Mack could be a great help to remind to the other legislators the power that we still have at local level, county level, and more important, state level when it comes down to this jurisdiction. The federal government doesn't come here because they come. They come here because we sign our rights away.
That's right.
Like was Medicaid.
You are exactly right.
The only reason they can come here because they bought us out. Anyway, next topic. Drones used for surveillance over the state of Arizona. Anyway, also United States of America. As you well know, February of this year, Congress passed the FAA Reauthorization Act. And in its provisions, they can deploy fleets of drones domestically and they're expecting more than 30,000 of them to be in use by 2020. And some of them, they also can be small as little hummingbirds. There is also a pretty much an unclassified U.S. Air Force document reported by CBS that I will put also on my website, lovegunsfreedom.com, that expands in pretty much in this new unconstitutional step that pretty much the military is having now a use in controlling domestic populations information. I mean, they can pretty much come all over us, and thanks to the National Defense Authorization Act that I'm sure you already know, pretty much not only they can arrest us like NDA pretty much says, but also they can spy on us. What are your thoughts on spy drones flying around the state of Arizona?
Right. Well, I don't think that there should be any search or seizure without due process, and that includes getting a warrant. I do have another bill that I'm going to be sponsoring this year. That's the Fourth Amendment Protection Act. And basically, it also says that nobody in Arizona is going to be able to provide material support, participation, assistance of any kind to a federal agency that claims power within our state to collect electronic data or metadata of any kind without a warrant. And so, we have to protect our Fourth Amendment rights. We have to stand up for that. I think the technology in unmanned aerial vehicles or drones can be useful in some situations, but I never think that it should be used against law-abiding American citizens without the proper warrant behind it.
And on top, Senator, you know very well, when you have power, unlimited power, or such type of power, I mean, they can pretty much remotely be everywhere in the world. Somebody can also hijack this type of technology and use it against us. I mean, could be also a foreign country, could be some terrorist group. I mean, we have now already stories I think in New York and other parts of the U.S. We had already some crashes, some accidents of some of these birds flying down on population, I mean, civilian areas. And I think can be something also kind of little scary to think that, we can put all the legislation out there that we must protect our Fourth Amendment. But after all, if some rogue element of the government in Washington, D.C., like we know that they can't wait to use any type of crisis to their own advantage, why do you think how can we stop it? How can we even know they can use
Well, I mean, I'm fearful right now because I don't think that this administration that is in charge at this point in our nation's capital has any brakes or has any filter or has anything. Basically, it seems as though there's nothing that's off limits, whether it's in the Constitution or it's not in the Constitution, whether it's in legislation, whether it's not in legislation. If they want to do it, they find a way and just do.
They just do it.
And that's a scary, scary thought. And that's what I'm hopeful that this weekend, whenever I'm there, we'll be able to start reeling things in a little bit.
Okay, always when you go to bars or restaurant, remember, get a personal taster. Don't eat everything first, okay?
Yes.
Okay, let's go to another topic now. National Defense Authorization Act. Okay?
Yes.
Mr. Barack Obama, and this is my personal view, I'm never going to call him president till he shows me his true, real paperwork, birth certificate. So I call him Mr. for respect. Signed the national, because otherwise I have other names. People can check it out on YouTube. Signed the National Defense Authorization Act of 2013. And also that pretty much says that he can make indefinite detention for U.S. citizen as like it used to be before the pre-Magna Carta. That means there is no more any type of due process. There is no more any type of judge, lawyers, nothing, witnesses. It's just they can say you're a terrorist and you're gone. Under the 2012 National Defense Authorization Act, Section 1021, Mr. Obama agreed to give the military the power to arrest and hold Americans without the writ of habeas corpus. Now, back to our own dirty business in Arizona. Arizona Senator McCain supported this bill that strips the guarantee to a trial by jury and due process. What are your feelings on this?
I don't support the bill, and I think there should always be due process. That's why it's put there to protect the little guy, to protect the average, everyday, normal citizen. And we cannot give up our liberty in hopes of getting some kind of safety and protection. It just doesn't work. The more protection and safety we seek, the more infringement there is on our liberty and our freedom and our ability to function. And so Benjamin Franklin said, if you're willing to give up your liberty for safety, you deserve basically what you get. So I will continue to fight, to maintain that liberty.
You know what is scary, Senator? I mean, sometimes, we have, different philosophies about economics, about, people call us, we're on the right or people on the left, doesn't matter. This is, for me, something that should unify every free American, everybody that believes in the basic concept of freedom as a civilized nation, because in my little study of history, we are going back to the Middle Ages with this piece of legislation, and this is something that I don't sleep at night, not because I'm afraid for myself, because I'm afraid for the future of this country and what's going to happen in the next few years, because this is now, it's a law. It's right there, maybe not be used today, maybe we don't even know if it's really used, because remember, somebody get arrested, it's gone. But the scary thing, this is like 1934 Nazi Germany, before really from the Republic, with that false flag, the burning of the Reichstag, the parliament, and they gave fault to these poor little guys that they were two mongoloids anyway. And then from a republic, they became what Hitler was. So this is just a one bullet more loaded in the gun before it can be used against. All they need now is an excuse. They need any type of excuse of declaring martial law. There could be economic disaster or any type of crisis. And you can start to see people disappearing, like happened in Chile with Pinochet. They call it the White Death. More than 30,000 people, they were gone. Never found anymore. Taken in the middle of the night. So that's what I'm saying. This is serious.
Well, and I think that also the changing of the Senate rules is another way to increase the power of the people in power right now. And there's going to be a lot of, I think there are intended consequences from the Democrats' point of view, but from the Republican point of view, I think there will be a lot of unintended consequences because I don't think that they fought hard enough to keep that from happening. I would have loved to see more attempt to stop that.
Senator, you are a Republican senator. I'm sorry to interrupt you. And you have said a lot of good things. I would like to spell it out. We've been sold out, literally, in every way by not only at the federal level, but you see what happened to you when you were trying to embrace our values at the Capitol with our Republican leadership.
Yes. I have to say that President Biggs, he was very opposed to expanding Medicaid expansion. Mm-hmm. But our majority leader and our majority whip, they both went with the other side. And so I think we're going to see some trickle down from that. And I think, I fear that the same people who supported that Medicaid expansion will be supporting Common Core, and it will be difficult to defeat them. It depends on who comes back the next year, what we're gonna get. I don't know. It's a hard fight when you're fighting against your own team.
But you know what? You keep fighting, and that's what it matters, because you lead the way, and that's what I really think is great. Now, just to connect things to NDA, did you hear that last week? Was from Channel 3 from Phoenix. There was like a lot of reporting of different military helicopters flying around over central Phoenix and surrounding areas. And the police department from Phoenix confirmed to Channel 3 that they are supporting the Department of Defense training around the city. Did you hear about that?
I saw your posts on Facebook, so I didn't actually see it on Channel 3.
Yeah, it was.
But I can tell you that I have an apartment down here in Phoenix that I stay in during the session, and I hear helicopters outside all the time outside my window. Now, I don't know if they're medical helicopters. I don't know if they're searching for bad guys down on the ground because someone, there's some kind of shooting or some kind of an activity. Because I live kind of close to downtown, so there's often activity that you don't see where we live, really, at least not as often as over here in Phoenix. And so I hear them, I hear them almost every night.
And this is official news directly from the Phoenix Department of Police. I read what they say, okay? Elements of the Department of Defense will be conducting routine training in the Phoenix metropolitan area from November the 12th to the 22nd, 2013. The training will take place at various locations in Glendale, Scottsdale, Mesa, Phoenix, and Tempe. The respective police departments will provide police support This training, which has been conducted by the military personnel in cities across the country, so not just Phoenix, is designed to certify service members in urban environment operations. This is something that we don't need to be geniuses, that when they start to create this sort of climate or whatever, is some sort of it's not just seriously. They want to train soldiers to go to Iraq or whatever. I'm sure the military have enough resources and enough structures. They can do that without endangering us, and more important, without stressing us out. Because, in my opinion, this is a preparation, and of course, there is people in good faith. Like I'm sure the police, they just doing their job and they thinking they're helping the DoD. But why this is happening in our cities? Because this is not this is something more than that. Are you aware that FEMA signed a deal just a few weeks ago that in case there is an emergency, economic emergency or any type of natural emergency, who's going to be the force, the armed force to patrol the U.S. soil is going to be the Russians. This FEMA officially signed. This is official document directly from the Pentagon. You can see it. There's a FEMA website. FEMA has a special agreement in case of a special type of emergency. They're going to use Russian troops here. This is serious. And we have also Chinese. So we have Chinese troops. 2 weeks ago, I think 10 days ago, officially they are now having, for the first time in the history of America, special exercise, military exercise with our troops in Hawaii. I mean, listen, the science, we cannot underestimate all this little part of a puzzle, I mean, let's not forget what happened, the night of the long knives with Germany, Hitler. I mean, I don't need to specify more of that. So this is just something I would like to say, because I'm sure you are aware, but you have a lot of things in your mind, and we need to help each other to keep inform each other. I have from our local Mojave County, a U.S. veteran from the Army, that he has a special piece of information that I would like to share with you and all the listeners. 1 second, Oliver.
Hi, my name is Chuck. I'm a resident of Kingman, Arizona. I'm a combat veteran from Afghanistan and an American patriot. Saw a very interesting thing happen on, was it Wednesday? November 13th. I was coming back from Golden Valley, from the FedEx building. We were traveling along I-40, and in between the Bill Street exit and the Stockton Hill exit, we noticed that there were two gray Huey helicopters flying towards California. Both of these choppers were gray. They had a black UN logo on the side of the helicopter. We were traveling east, heading towards Stockton Hill, and the helicopters were actually traveling west towards California, so I was unable to get a picture, but this is something that really brought up some concern with me as to why UN helicopters are flying over Kingman, Arizona.
Okay, this is just a little part of the puzzle. I have another witness that will play probably next week. The point is, you're very aware that we have signed, I mean, no we, but Mr. Kerry has signed the Small Arms Treaty with the United Nations. You're aware of that?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have also, Mr. Obama that we don't need to say more about what he's trying to do. And the Russian special deal with FEMA. We have for the first time Chinese troops sitting down in Hawaii having a Mai Tai. And then there are some witnessing, for example, not only in Phoenix and different cities, there's been this is mainstream news. I mean, army playing, Rambo, breaking people's homes. That's kind of scary. Now we have in Mojave County, just a few days ago, I posted also on YouTube channel, we had like 2 nights in a row, blackout, and for Golden Valley was a complete blackout, never happened before. And the scary thing was, at least interesting things, I don't even call it scary, that there was so much helicopter activities above Golden Valley, we could see the lights, and they were from the Kingman Regional Hospital. No, they were military for sure, or at least there was something that wasn't regular. And we need to start to be aware a little bit, at least to start to put pieces together, because what we are facing here as a nation, I mean, when Pearl Harbor happened, there were signs, And I'm not
Yep.
trying to say that we need to be paranoid, but at the same time, as informed Americans, we should really start to pay attention because I don't like to see. I don't see why United Nations helicopters or any other type of helicopters, or Chinese or Russian, they should be playing around in our backyard right now. You know.
Right. Well, I would rather for people to be prepared and be ready and never have to use it because nothing happens than to be caught unaware. And so I hope that more and more people will start to wake up. I saw this week, I think I saw it on the Blaze, but they were talking about the confiscation of guns order that was given or passed out or passed down to people who have guns in New York City.
Exactly.
That basically told them, you better bring us your guns and we'll get rid of them. Or if you decide you're going to take them out of the city, you can take them out of the city, but if you do, you need to tell us where you take them and what the addresses of the people who have them. I mean, that I think is just ridiculous.
That's called, frying the frog or boiling the frog slowly,
Yes.
and then you start to see where is left. That's why I believe, this is my opinion, of course, states like Arizona or Texas or other places like Southwest, probably that's why they need to start to train the army to do these sort of operations, because here we have a different type of breed, and unfortunately, I hope not, but they have different plans for us,
Right. Well, I hope that people wake up and educate themselves and understand what could happen. Not that, if it doesn't happen, we'll all be very thankful and be praising, I'll be praising God because I love God, and I'll be praising Him that happened. But if something does happen, being ready is very, very important.
Perfect. Thank you. Question.
Yes.
Freedom. Who owns your body? You or the government?
You.
Okay, that's great. We agree on that. Very good. Now, and that's for me, whenever I talk to somebody, we want to engage in some philosophical, also practical, because it's about our life, I always start with this question. So we own our body. Do you define freedom like like the right to do whatever you want until you don't infringe on somebody else's rights?
I do.
Me too. So I'm glad we agree on that. As I said, I know a lot about you, but I don't know everything. That's why I'm happy to have you here. We can share and having nice, engagement in knowing each other.
Yes.
Perfect.
Well, one of the things with the right, the right to do what you want to do, and so. For me, okay, we have people who just continue to have more and more children that they can't take care of. But I think, it is a right to have children. But once you exercise that right, you should expect to have to take on the responsibility for what comes from that right.
Exactly.
And that's where I think the breakdown comes and where government gets involved when they shouldn't.
Exactly. The point is, if you want to have all the children you want, I shouldn't pay for your kids. I agree with that.
Exactly, I agree.
And
but we as government, not me, but government as its own entity chooses to reward that behavior.
Yeah, that's
all under the name of, well, what about the children? Well, the parents are the ones responsible for the children, not the state. The state is not the de facto parent.
Exactly.
The parent is the parent, and unless there's some kind of an abusive situation, something that's so out of line, there shouldn't be interference in that.
Very good. I'm so glad we agree on this one. Now, since we agree that we own our body, okay, and we should be able to do everything always in the respect of other people's rights, and be always also, with freedom come responsibilities. That means we should be able to take care of ourselves. We don't want to do anything. For example, my behavior, if I get some sort of unhealthy behavior, I don't think somebody else should pay for my doctor. Like they're trying to do now with Obamacare. If I want to smoke and drink all day long, and then I'm going to get sick, I should be able to take care of myself. Now, talking about, for example, you remember in the history of this country, not that long ago, drinking was some sort of unlawful act. You could be able. There was a prohibition. You recall that? So now, and then the government decided that type of product you cannot have, because it's illegal. Now, we have the same situation with, for example, the marijuana. I don't even know how to pronounce it. How would you say marijuana? Can you say for me one time? Marijuana?
Yeah, I say marijuana.
Marijuana, okay. And just to let you know, this is coming from a person that I can stand it. I don't like to smoke anything. And I just tried once when I was 18, and I didn't like it at all. But as a principle of freedom, I really get very involved and I get really animated when I think that the government is telling me or telling anybody that would like to enjoy this substance, not just for medical use, because I go 2 steps further. I don't care. When I drink my beer, it's not for medical. It's just because I enjoy it, you know. And if somebody in the peace and tranquility and safety of their home, you know, without, as we said, you know, be responsible for themselves, that means they can afford the product. And more important, they are not going to be a liability to others. They're not going to drive the same laws that we can adopt with drinking. They want to be in their little house and smoke whatever they want. I find very scary the idea, and not really American, that they can be arrested, have felony on their back, and have their property confiscated. What is your position on that?
Right. Well, for me, I have not been a proponent of legalizing marijuana, but I am a Federalist, and there are 2 states that have done it. And so I am very interested in watching what happens in Colorado and what happens in Washington with their legalization process, because I'm not one that wants to jump off a cliff when I don't know what's down there. So they're the ones figuring out what's down there and letting them work out those kinks to see if there is a way, to allow people to do that. And I think most of the time, if people are at home and they're in the comfort of their own home and they're not doing anything wrong, no one bothers them. And the only time it becomes an issue is when they go out in public and they infringe on other people's rights.
Like the alcohol.
That's what needs to be controlled more, or needs to be disciplined, I guess. It's not really controlled, but people, we need to be able to discipline people in the right way when those things happen. I've kind of been doing my own little informal observation. It's not really a study, but because I have people that come to the emergency room when I'm working, and often they get drug screened, and the people who are working, productive members of society are usually have a clean drug screen. The people who are either not working, are on disability, or are just not doing the most they can for themselves, are much more likely to have marijuana and other substances in their drug screen. And so, it's hard to think, okay, well, we've got these people that we are supporting as a government. As a people, we are paying our taxpayer money in to take care of these people who are unable to find work or who are disabled for whatever reason, and they're repaying us by, either drinking, smoking pot, smoking cigarettes, getting excessive numbers of tattoos, all those things that we basically are paying for because we're giving them the money for their necessities of life. And so they have, I guess, disposable income that they're able to do all those other things. And
I understand. As we said before, with the freedom comes responsibilities. That means if you are not able to work because you want to smoke, and we're supposed not to pay your behavior. But the people shouldn't be put in jail as a felon the rest of their life.
Right.
Because in their homes they want to, they want to become blasted, or they want to become whatever they want. They're supposed to be responsible. This is my opinion. And I'll just tell you that for right now, I think that most people, if you're in your home and you do that, nobody bothers you. You don't get arrested. They don't come in and break down your door and take all your stuff. There has to be some other thing that leads to that happening. Senator, I read the history, stories, news over the internet, and there are so many unlawful. In my opinion, they are terrible. They call it lawful, but when they come down with the SWAT team, just because mom and pop is having some plants that today is called marijuana, maybe next time would be called sage or maybe basil, since the government has the power to declare a plant illegal. That's very scary, because it's not always like that. If they decide that they want to hit you, all they need to find the way that you have one plant without the license, because I'm supposed to have license, in my opinion, if I want to grow basil or sage, or if I want to have wine, And they can come and get you and confiscate your property and ruin your life. Unfortunately, they have that power. They may not find you immediately, but they have that power.
And so, since I haven't been willing so far to go to the extent of let's make marijuana legal everywhere, but I have been working on a couple of things in Arizona. One is on the DUI law, because right now our DUI laws are such that if there is even an inactive metabolite of marijuana in your urine, which could be there for a month or a year or even up to 5 years, depending on how you metabolize it and how much fat you have in your body and all those kinds of things, if that's in your system, then you can be charged with a DUI. And I don't think that all of those people are under the influence. So I'm working on separating that so that isn't the case.
Senator.
And then I'm also working on some hemp legislation to separate in Arizona hemp from marijuana plants.
Bravo.
So at least it's a start. It's not the broad sweeping thing that a lot of the people want. I've met with a lot of the people from the Democrat side about this. Michael Weiser and Perry, and I've talked to them many, many times. And, so I'm willing to help work on some of those things, but I'm not willing to do the sweeping legislation because I think everything should be done incrementally or through the federalist process, watching what other states do if they do something sweeping, so that we don't have unintended consequences that we are going to have a bad outcome for the taxpayers of our state.
I understand. And, of course, you have your way to work, and I respect that. The only thing I can say, let's not forget, alcohol abuse is official from the CDC, I think, from latest numbers, directly kills at least 70,000 people, Americans, each year, okay? And if we could treat marijuana or any other type of, natural substance, like a plant, like alcohol, if you're intoxicated, you stay home, you don't drive, you don't need to become a criminal, that would be the great start. Because, I am everything but a Democrat, you know very well where I stand, and probably I am more even free thinking when it comes down to this issue than the Democrats itself. I know the Democrats, they want to legislate, they want to tax it, they want to some sort to regulate it. For me, nobody should tell me how many plants I can grow if I want to grow basil, sage, or whatever on my own property. But just to remind to the law enforcement they're listening, I don't even smoke cigarettes, so don't please come to use me, okay? But at least I thank you. And the hemp, you know very well, the hemp, it's something so black and white, in my opinion. I mean, we import hemp from China. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
Industrial hemp from Canada. We're talking about 300 millions for year business, just hemp-based products. And we know that this is completely chemical composition from smokable marijuana. So why we cannot grow in a state of Arizona hemp?
Right. Well, this is the first step, because right now hemp is classified under marijuana, and marijuana is still illegal federally, even if we do have Colorado and Washington that have decided to make it legal. I think if Arizona did something like that, the federal government would be right on our backs before you knew it, because we are not in favored status with this administration. So separating hemp from marijuana in our statutes is step one.
Good. I think it's a good idea. And by the way, this is my personal, I really like you, and I think you're a great lady, not only a great senator, and I like you took a very bold stand when it came down to the Obamacare, Medicaid exchange, and every other issue like a Second Amendment. If my own, as a constituent, if I could have a prayer for you, don't wait for others to lead the way. You could be the leader, not only in our state, but also showing to the others, regardless what the odds are. You lead the way, you set an example. This is about freedom. It's about who owns our body, and I think you do an incredible job. There is a call. Let's see if we can get it fast before they go away. Let's see, I'm probably ready.
Right. We do have a couple of the Democrats in the House side, I think, that are going to propose some legislation to legalize marijuana in Arizona, because they feel like it's better to do it through legislation so that there's more control, more stopgaps that might happen than if we get a citizens initiative that we have no control over whatsoever, and then we just have to deal with whatever the consequences are, whatever they might be. And so we'll see what happens with that. I'm not sure what will happen, but I know there's a couple of Democrat guys that are working on that.
Listen, I want to thank, we're almost at the end of the hour, and unfortunately time goes fast. I want to thank you again for your time, for everything you're doing for us, and I'm really glad that you are a regular person. That means, you are a mom, you care about the future of your kids, and you understand the big picture, what's going around in this country. So I want to thank you a lot, and I would like to give you an opportunity right now to give you the last message to your constituents. First of all, if somebody want to help you, support you, how they can reach you?
Yes, well, I'd love it. I think that's one of the most important things, is having two-way conversations, not just things coming down from me to you, but having things from you to me, so that I can be a better voice for you at the Arizona State Senate. And so if people can go to my website, it's Dr. Kelli Ward, DrKelli, Kelly with an I, because I care about the people, Ward, so drkelliward.com. I'm on Facebook. It's also Kelly with an I, Kelli Ward for Arizona, and you can find my Facebook page. You can message me there. You can talk about issues that are important and near and dear to you. And, of course, you can always email me at kward@azleg.gov and have direct one-on-one conversations with me via email. I love to keep in touch with everybody, and I think that's what really makes a difference for the people that I represent.
Thank you, Senator. And by the way, I would like to thank you again. And you're always the one on Facebook. I never seen such a participation from any elected official like you are. Thank you again. And be safe in Washington.
Thank you. Hey, I will. Have a great day.
Thank you. Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, guys. This was Senator Kelli Ward on K-Talks 1340 AM on Love, Guns, Freedom with Luca Zanna. And I think it's a great opportunity to engage each other. As you know, there's a lot of good. We always can agree on something. I like to find things that we can somehow help each other in learning from each other. I do not know everything, and that's why I'm here, because I would like to learn from you. And I learned a lot of beautiful things from our state senator. I think she's a great lady, and I really pray the state of Arizona is going to become the leader when it comes down to freedom, individual liberties, and responsibilities. So we should be able to smoke, drink, and eat whatever we want. Bye-bye. Stay tuned for the next show.